What's up, book nerds? My name is Tara, and this is the Bookish Book Tag. I was tagged to do this by Jess over at Only Jesting, and I will tag her channel and the original creator of the tag in the down bar below. So this tag is kind of what it sounds like. It's a tag about just book things, more generic things having to do with books. So there's not a specific theme here beyond just sharing some interesting things about books that I like. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first question is, what book was so good that it made you want to reread it? I could go around and try to come up with a million different creative answers to this, but let's face it, the answer is The Hunger Games, because I'm not a big rereader of books, and I immediately, upon rereading this, wanted to read it again. I think I read it as the audiobook and then just read it again in the paperback. And I've read it multiple times since then, and it's just fast-paced, wonderful book that, you know, the writing is not the most amazing in the world, but it definitely gripped me every single time that I read it. Number 2 is a book that you would like to see turned into a movie, and this is Panic by Lauren Oliver. Even though I did not love this book, I had a lot of critiques of it. I think it would make a very good film because each of the challenges that the teens must undergo in this town, all the seniors are participating in challenges that are created by a game maker so they can win a lot of money. The challenges are very thrilling. They would work really well on the screen, but there's also a lot of interesting things happening with the relationships of the characters and between the characters, and also just in who they are as they're sort of coming of age and making decisions. The growth that they exhibit throughout the story would be kind of interesting to watch on screen as well. Number 3 is a book that you wanted to throw at the wall, and no, I did not pick Twilight for this, though it was tempting. I picked Requiem by Lauren Oliver. This is really messing with my white balance, sorry. This book, I'm all for endings that are just shockers or that do unconventional things. I love the ending of Allegiant, for example. But this one, I couldn't buy into what she did here. I didn't like it. I don't think that she fulfilled what I needed her to do as an author and what a story is with this book. So it just made me want to throw it against a wall. Number 4 is a book that you've had on your bookshelf for ages, but that you still haven't gotten to yet. And this is Luna by Julie Ann Peters. This is a book about, it's told from the point of view of a girl who is watching her brother in the basement, or he reveals to her that he wants to be a female. And so he's dressing as Luna and decides that he actually is Luna. So he is coming out as transgender. This is like an LGBT 101 classic canon novel for this genre, and I haven't read it yet, and will one day, I promise. It's been on my list for at least 4 years. I have no excuses. Number 5 is the book or book series that you would never have read if someone had not recommended it to you. For this, I picked Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertelli. I just read this book. It was a recommendation from my friend Layla she blogs at the Midnight Garden. And, you know, I read a lot of books with gay or queer characters, and I'm certainly interested in that. For some reason, this one did not jump out at me as something that I thought I was interested in reading. It's kind of like, okay, how many coming out in high school stories can I read before I'm just kind of needing a break from that for a while? But it ended up being really good, and I was remembering that I shouldn't just close myself off to things, especially LGBT books, because I almost always enjoy them, just like I did with this one. Number 6 is the book that you thought you wouldn't like, but surprisingly you enjoyed it. This is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I have known about this book for many years, probably since it came out, I think. And, you know, it's a chunky book, but it always looked interesting to me. I knew it was dystopian or Holocaust fiction years and years ago, and then I learned kind of that Jeff is the narrator. Tried to read the book many times, could not get into it, and then I finally just took the plunge right before the movie came out and just poured over this book and absolutely fell in love with it. It is one of my favorite books of all time. The Book Thief, I mean, I can't even believe now that I didn't want to read it. If I could just go back and tell myself in 2007 that I needed to get together and read this book, I would totally do that. Number 7 is a book that you decided to read because the movie was so good that it made you read the book. And I have been thinking about this question for several days and I still cannot come up with a single book that fits this criteria. I've almost always read the book before I see the movie. Even if I ended up not liking the book, I always read the book first, or I saw the movie and then just never read the book after that. I don't think there's really any case of me seeing a movie that then inspires me to read the book. Number 8 is the book with the worst movie adaptation that you have ever seen. And while most of this movie was actually like average in every way, I have to give My Sister's Keeper like all of the cake on this one, because they completely changed the ending of this and it was just maddening. Like, I don't get why they made the change that they made. So even though I guess the ending of the book was pretty maddening to begin with, it just felt unnecessary. So I think the movie was trying to fix that, but it's just like, you just ripped my heart out in a totally different way, and I didn't need that. Number 9 is what book you recommend when trying to get non-readers into reading. This is something that I do all the time, and I wish that I could give you some really clever answer, like the perfect book for this. Ultimately, the real answer to the question is I ask the student or the person, like, what are some things they may have liked in the past, or movies they like, or genres they like, just to get something that might give me an idea for a recommendation. But generally, I want to pick something that is relatively short, relatively fast-paced, and extremely engaging. So things like The Hunger Games, Harry Potter. I've recommended Twilight to many of my students because I know it's a very fast read. I always recommend James Patterson's Maximum Ride series, because James Patterson writes novels that just you fly through them. I'm not a big fan of the series, but students that are reluctant readers enjoy that. And also, like, for grown-ups, things like Gone Girl or The Da Vinci Code are very fast, engaging reads. Number 10 is the book that you decided to read because of all of the good comments that you saw on YouTube. This is The Martian by Andy Weir. Everybody always has very good things to say about this book, and my boyfriend actually bought it for me because he knew that I wanted something new to read, but I'm on a book buying ban, and his way of justifying that, I guess, was that he read it before I even got a chance to read it, and he read it in just a couple of days. He's not a huge reader, and so the fact that he really enjoyed it and recommends it and desperately wants me to read it so that we could talk about it, it is my current read right now. So I'm reading it because of all of the good things I've heard from everyone else. And the last question is number 11. It's typical. Who do you tag in this? I'm actually not going to tag anyone since this tag is already like a month old when I'm doing this video. Jess tagged a lot of other people in it. If you want to do it, feel free to do it. You can say that I tagged you, but otherwise I'm behind on tags. Y'all are probably behind on tags. So I am just going to leave it at that for this one. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.